When David Mercer stepped out of his polished black luxury sedan that morning, the entire parking lot seemed to pause. His shoes gleamed like mirrors, his tailored navy suit looked as if it had been stitched by hand, and his expression carried the kind of confidence only wealth could buy. Employees at Mercer Holdings straightened their backs the moment they saw him. Some smiled nervously, others lowered their eyes. Everyone knew one thing. When David Mercer arrived, perfection was expected. But that morning, perfection was interrupted by rust. At the far end of the executive parking area, sitting crooked between two shining modern vehicles, was a battered old pickup truck. Its faded blue paint had peeled away in patches, the hood was dented, one headlight was cloudy, and the tailgate hung slightly lower on one side. It looked as though it had survived storms, hard labor, and years of neglect. David stopped mid-step. He slowly removed his sunglasses, stared at the truck, then turned toward the security guard. "What is that doing here?" he asked, his voice sharp enough to cut steel. The guard swallowed. "Sir, it belongs to one of the employees." "One of the employees?" David repeated, offended by the idea. "Who would drive this scrap metal into my lot?" At that moment, a man stepped out from the side entrance carrying a lunchbox and a stack of papers. He was around 38, lean from years of hard work, wearing faded jeans, steel-toe boots, and a clean but worn plaid shirt. His name was Marcus Reed. He froze when he realized everyone was staring at him. "That truck is mine, sir," Marcus said quietly. David looked him up and down, then laughed. "Yours," he said. "You actually paid money for that." A few employees forced nervous chuckles. Marcus nodded. $500. That triggered louder laughter. David turned to the crowd as though hosting a show. $500 for a truck that looks ready for burial, he announced. "Tell me, Reed, did it come with tetanus for free?" The crowd laughed again, but Marcus did not. He tightened his grip on the lunchbox. "It runs." "Barely, I assume," David replied. "And let me guess, you bought it because it was all you could afford." Marcus hesitated. "Yes." David smirked. "Then here's a life lesson. Sometimes cheap things stay cheap." He put his sunglasses back on and walked away. The parking lot fell silent. Marcus said nothing. He simply climbed into the truck after work that evening, turned the key twice before the engine coughed awake, and drove home. What nobody in that lot knew was that Marcus Reed had spent the last 6 years raising his 8-year-old daughter Lily Reed alone. They lived in a small rented house with cracked porch steps and a backyard full of weeds. Marcus worked 2 jobs, maintenance at Mercer Holdings during the day, repairs in a neighbor's garage at night. Every dollar mattered. Rent, groceries, school supplies, medicine, electricity. The truck wasn't a joke to him. It was hope. He had bought it from an old farmer who was moving away. The engine knocked loudly, the suspension sagged, the seats were torn, and the transmission slipped. But Marcus saw something others didn't. Potential. Every night after putting Lily to bed, he walked outside with tools and a flashlight. He removed rusted bolts, cleaned greasy parts, rebuilt worn systems piece by piece. Sometimes his hands bled, sometimes he was so tired he fell asleep sitting on an overturned bucket. But every night, he kept going. Lily often stood at the back door in pajamas, watching. "Why do you work on that old truck so much, Dad?" she asked one night. Marcus smiled. "Because people give up on things too fast." "Will it ever be pretty?" He looked at the faded hood. "Oh yes," he said. One day, weeks, turned into months. He rebuilt the carburetor, replaced fuel lines, installed a salvaged transmission, rewired the dashboard, sanded body panels by hand, learned paint correction from library books and free online videos. On weekends, he visited junkyards searching for rare parts hidden under weeds and dust. At work, David Mercer continued mocking him. "Still driving the museum piece?" He'd ask. "Need a tow this morning?" "Careful, one pothole and it'll become powder." Marcus never answered. That silence irritated David more than any insult ever could. Then one Friday, Mercer Holdings announced a charity gala featuring a classic car auction. Wealthy guests from across the city would attend. Media crews would cover the event. Investors would mingle. David loved appearances, and classic cars were symbols of status. Employees were invited to watch from the outer lot. Marcus listened quietly. That same week, he finished the final stage of the truck restoration. When the garage lights switched on that night, the transformation stunned even him. The faded wreck was gone. In its place stood a masterpiece. The truck gleamed in deep metallic midnight blue, with polished chrome trim reflecting every light in the room. The engine purred smoothly with upgraded internals hidden beneath a spotless bay. Hand-stitched tan leather seats filled the cabin. Restored gauges glowed warm amber. Custom wheels, lowered suspension, and flawless wood bed panels completed the look. Lily gasped, "Dad, is that our truck?" Marcus smiled, eyes wet. "Yes, it looks rich." He laughed. "It looks loved." The night of the gala arrived. Luxury cars lined the entrance. European coupes, vintage convertibles, rare sports machines. Men in tuxedos and women in gowns stepped onto red carpets beneath cameras and chandeliers. David Mercer stood at the center, shaking hands, grinning for photos. Then a low, smooth engine note rolled across the driveway. Heads turned. A custom classic pickup glided toward the entrance, paint shimmering under the lights like dark water. Chrome flashed. The crowd parted instinctively. Valets stared. Guests whispered. David frowned. The truck stopped. The driver door opened. Marcus Reed stepped out wearing a simple charcoal suit he had borrowed from a friend. Lily, in a neat blue dress, climbed down beside him. Silence hit the driveway like thunder. David blinked twice. "No," he whispered. Marcus handed the keys to a stunned valet. "Please be careful," he said kindly. One collector approached immediately. "Whose restoration is this?" he asked. "Mine," Marcus answered. The man circled the truck slowly. "Impossible. This is show quality." Another guest joined. "I'll offer 60,000 right now." Then another voice. 75. A woman with a private collection leaned closer. 85,000. David stepped forward, forcing a laugh. "Ladies and gentlemen, surely we're being dramatic. It's still an old pickup underneath." The first collector looked at him coldly. "Underneath is craftsmanship." More people gathered. 90,000. 95. 100,000. The crowd erupted. David's face drained of color. Marcus stood motionless, stunned. The collector extended his hand. $100,000, final offer. Marcus looked at Lily. She squeezed his hand. "Dad, that's a lot of groceries." Laughter rippled warmly through the crowd. Marcus smiled, then turned back. "Thank you," he said, "but it's not for sale." Gasps followed. The collector laughed with respect. "Then name your price when you're ready." Marcus nodded politely. David could barely speak. "You turned that $500 wreck into this." Marcus met his eyes for the first time in months. "No," he said calmly. "I turned time, patience, and hard work into this." The words landed harder than any insult. News of the moment spread fast. Videos of the reveal flooded social media. Headlines praised the single father who restored junk into treasure. Local magazines requested interviews. Car shows invited him to exhibit. Sponsors offered partnerships. Within 3 months, Marcus opened a small restoration shop called Second Chance Customs. His first sign hung above the door. "Nothing valuable starts perfect." Customers arrived from across the region. Old pickups, forgotten sedans, family heirlooms, rusted classics, Marcus restored them all. But more importantly, he hired people others overlooked. Single parents, former laborers, young mechanics needing experience, men and women who had been told they were less than. Lily did homework at the office desk after school, proudly greeting customers. Meanwhile, Mercer Holdings suffered quiet embarrassment. Employees never forgot the night their CEO mocked a man whose talent outshined wealth. Investors noticed David's arrogance. Board members questioned his leadership style. Months later, David visited Marcus's shop alone. No cameras, no suit jacket, no audience. He stood awkwardly beside the polished truck, now displayed near the entrance. "I came to apologize," he said. Marcus wiped his hands with a cloth. "For the jokes, for all of it." Marcus studied him, then nodded once. "Apology accepted." David looked relieved. "I misjudged you." Marcus gave a faint smile. "No," he said, "you judged me exactly by what you value." David lowered his eyes. There was no answer to that. Before leaving, he asked quietly, "Why didn't you sell the truck?" Marcus looked toward Lily laughing in the office. Because some things are worth more than money. Years later, the truck became famous in car circles. Not because of horsepower or paint, but because of what it represented. At every show, people asked for the story. Marcus always told it simply. I bought a broken truck when life was broken too. We rebuilt together. And every time he said it, Lily smiled. Because she knew the truth. The truck was never the only thing her father restored. He restored dignity. He restored hope. He restored their future. As for David Mercer, he changed more than anyone expected. Publicly humbled, he began treating employees differently, funding apprenticeship programs and donating to vocational schools. Whether from guilt or growth, no one knew. But everyone remembered the lesson. A person with money can buy shine. A person with character can create value. And sometimes, the man laughed at in the parking lot is the one everyone stands to admire in the end.